All right, let's start immediately so that we don't waste more time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of Almighty God be with all of you. I apologize for my inability to be in class yesterday evening. Just like I said 2 days ago or 2 nights ago, I was going to have an event outside my apartment here, and that kept me out till late. I came back around 10 o'clock and I had to work till like 4:30 kind of. But we're here today to continue our journey on Python programming. Tonight's journey will be an interesting one. Not like the previous journey hasn't been interesting, but tonight will be like a recap of 3 things. And I'll try to show you how you can start doing some amazing elements of programming that I know you must have been thinking of. Yeah, I will do a quick revision of function, how you use function, and the beauty of it will be showcased. We've seen examples of that, but I'll do something very basic and then we will understand function better. Because I realized that there were things that I assumed that I said that I need to say again just to reinforce your understanding. After that, I'll do a quick refresher on loop, especially the for loop statement. That was where we ended our conversation 2 nights ago. Then I'll go into while loop statement, and that should pretty much be like the end of fundamentals of setting Python, foundation in place. The rest will now be, let's pick a project. Let's see how you can use all of the techniques we've learned to build a functional project. So I've shared my screen. I'll start from functions. I said it to us that functions are intelligence that we use in our codes that we have warehoused somewhere. We've kept them somewhere. And instead of us repeating those lines of code every now and then when we need to, we will only use the name of the function rather than rewriting the body of the logic. So I'll give us an example. Let's say we are writing A, C is equal to A plus B. You are told to write a program to add two numbers together, A plus B. What you will have written will have been num1 is equal to float impute first number. Okay, we'll get it from users. I'll copy that. I'll paste this one here and say num2. We'll get another float this time around. That's the second number from the user. And we'll have written num3 is equal to num1 plus num2. And in our standard practice, we will have said print message. And we would say message is equal to this. My keyboard, you started again. Yeah, we will have said num1 added to num2 is num3. Okay. And we will have gone ahead to format this message to mean num1, num2, num3. So if we run this, let's see, reformat the file. Yes, if we run this code, this is example 45. It will ask me for the first number. I can say 34 plus 57. It tells me 34 added to 57 gives 91. We know how to do this. But I started telling us that we can write something more professional by taking the logic of our processing away. And we can also take the logic of displaying the results away. So this line 7 to 11 could have been written somewhere else.
And we can use part. I'm just going to leave it exactly.
Yeah. So line 7 to 11 could have been written in another part of our code. So we started using function. So I'll say function can be created, or you define a function. That's what we mean by define. When you define a function, we are saying you create that function. So you use the keyword def to do that, to define the function. I'll say add numbers. I'm calling it add numbers. You can call it anything that you like. And then we are saying this is our function. Sorry. We're saying this is our function. That's function 1. I also need another function that will display results. I'll close and it will be like so. Now, so I have two functions here. There is one that is adding numbers. There is another one that is displaying results. I cannot just come into this function and start saying, okay, I'm done. That's it. No, that's not it. All I've done for now is to create those functions as add numbers. That's the name of function 1. Display results is the name of function 2. And notice that I put parentheses there, or what many people call brackets. I put brackets in front of the name. Now, when you leave it like this, it means the function does not require any parameter to work. Okay. But when you need it to work with a parameter, and I'll give you an example of a function that does not require a parameter. I can say def greet user. Okay, greet user. And this is going to say print asterisk times maybe 47, and then print a message. Hi. You are welcome to this Python code that uses functions as part of its logic. You can write something like this. And then the beauty of it is when you go outside that part and you say greet user, when I write greet user here, what I am doing is I am defining, I'm calling that function. I am calling this function greet user to say, hey, greet user, come over here and do what you have been programmed to do. And when you look at it, when I run this code now, it will display this message. Hi, you are welcome to this Python code that uses functions. I can just keep it at that level. So if I run this code now, let's check. It's telling me there is an error somewhere. I need to check. Okay, I have a def here. Let's just say pass for now. Pass for now. I have not put any logic there. I'll come back later to put their respective logic there. And I told you 2 nights ago, when you see this wiggly line here, it's saying it needs 2 empty lines between the function and where you are calling it. So, and we have 1. When I press enter to create the second one, that one disappears. So when you run this code now, you can see the first message is you are welcome to this Python code that uses functions. I need extra asterisks. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So 13 plus 47 will be 60. So, and I can decorate it more by doing one more at the end, and then I can do this. All right, so when you run this code again, it will go through that same process. So you can see now that I am pretty much covered, even though this should have been 59, not 60. 59, 59. Okay, so when I run this, it tells me, hi, you are welcome to this Python code that uses functions. And it's clean. And it put a space after that second line. And then it goes to our next line, line 20, first number. It's asking me for it. So this greet user that I have written on line 18 is executing the def greet user here. And it's not passing any parameter at all. But if you want it to pass parameter, you will have written it in a different way. So a parameter will look like something you put in the bracket. Hold on a second, please. Yeah. So a parameter is a variable that you pass into your function that your function can use to work. And you'll see an example of functions that are processing parameters, like add numbers. We want to get two numbers. So the code is asking me, number one, I put 12. Number two, I put 45. And then it gives me the result, the standard way of writing it. But I don't want that to happen. So I'll come back into add numbers and say there will always be a number one and there will always be a number two because this function is expecting two numbers. But just to let you know, this function itself will return a number as an integer. Okay. The output that it's going to give to us will be an integer. So I'll come in here and say my result will be number one plus number two. And I will now say return result. That's all I need to do. So what I've done here is very simple. I have created a function called add numbers. And add numbers is getting two parameters, number one and number two. And when it gets them, it's going to give something back to users. The output is going to be an integer. And this integer is what I am returning. I am returning it to whoever is calling that add numbers function. So if I ask add number to do something for me, and when it is done doing it, it has to be able to tell me that it is done doing it. And that's the result that it sends back to me. And we have declared that result to be an integer in this case. So if I want to use this function, add numbers, I won't write num3 the way I've written it here. Rather, I'll call and say add numbers. And you can see it's asking for two numbers, number one and number two. And I cannot say num1, comma, num2. So this num1 and num2 are called parameters that you are passing into that function. Some people will call it arguments that you are passing into the function, but just take it easily that these are parameters that this function needs to work. These are the raw materials, the ingredients that the function add numbers needs to work. But in technical terms, we use parameters or arguments more accurately. So when you hear people say, oh, which arguments are you passing to that function? They are talking of the elements that you put in the parentheses. So in this case, I've written add numbers, number 1, number 2, okay? And when it is done adding the numbers, remember add number is returning a result, and the result is an integer. So it will return the result and store it in num3. And when you run this program now, it will still work like it did before. First number is 10, second number is 25, and it tells me 1 added to 25 is 35. And you can see that it picked the 35 from num3, which we are generating this time around from add numbers function. This is a way of working with function. Another option could be, remember I put def display results. So what could I have written here? I could have taken this part off, this message part. I could have taken it off here, and I will bring it in here. And somewhere down here, I'll say display results. You still need to work with 2 numbers. Number 1, number 2. But this time around, it is not returning anything back like a result. It will just do something. Maybe it will display some messages on the screen for us. So what I will now write here is the results should be add numbers number 1 to number 2. So you see that I'm using function within function. And then this will be my result. Okay. Or if you want to keep it as number 3, you can keep it as number 3. Only that here I'll put num3. Okay. So I'll say num3 is equal to number 1, number 2. Let's make it something more interactive. I'll say number 3. Okay, so we're saying give us 2 numbers. We can use add numbers to add them together and keep the result in number 3. And we can display the message in this format. And you will see that I have called add number function within another function. That is possible. This is like you are embedding one intelligence inside another one, instead of me writing number 1 plus number 2 again here. So if I run this now, I won't need to do this anymore. Not at all. I'll just say display results of num1 and num2. And that's all I need. These 3 lines, we can still greet users. And when you go in here, you see the opening message is here. Number 1 is 7. Number 2 is 5. And when I execute it, it says 7 added to 5 is 12. And you are getting that result basically from this function, def display results. It's cleaner, and that's the only thing I'm writing here on line 26. This is cleaner. It shows that you are more technical in the way you write your code. And you may even give a space between the last message here or the last prompt and the result. These are more like aesthetics. And at the end of the day, you can go somewhere there and say, hold on a second. You can copy this, paste it, and say, thank you. So what I've written here, you see the way it runs. When I execute, it greets me. Yes. First number, 568. Second number, 132. And then it gives me the result. 568 added to 132 is 700. And it says, thank you. It puts the space between both, and I can see my results. This is cleaner than just lumping everything together with no space. separating them. So in this summary, I have given us an idea afresh of how to define functions, how to pass parameters to them, how to define the parameters that they work with, how to define the kind of output that your function is getting, and how to call the functions. We've called a function here. We've called a function here. And we even called a function within another function. Here we are calling add numbers, even though we are within display result function. This is an elegant way of writing code, and I need you to, play this over and over after tonight's class to see how things work. And you can play with more complex examples. I just decided to show you an example of adding two numbers. You may define your own function to do something else. Yeah, Ridwan, I can see your hand up.
Please, sir, it isn't running, sir.
It is what?
It isn't running, sir.
Okay, share your screen with me. Let me see what you have. I will help you fix it and let other people learn from your own screen.
Okay, sir. Just a minute. Please, sir, I'll need to connect with the laptop, sir.
Okay, once you are connected, let me know. Okay? All right.
Okay,
So,
sir.
all
Thank
right.
you.
While that's going on, let me also quickly revise one other thing we did the last class. I'll put it in my example 46. I'll create a new screen. I'll call it example 46. To create a new screen, you need to right-click on the project name, go to new, and then select Python file. Mubarak, you are welcome. I can see you are a new user. Same thing with Mila. So here I'll say example 046. I think, yes. So when we're talking about loop, I mentioned that this is a technique we use in programming to do some things repeatedly. I'll give you an example. This is a statement that I can use to print all your names on the screen. So I'll say attendees. I create a list. You know the way we do it. This is a list. I can put.
So we're not seeing the screen.
Okay, thanks a lot for prompting me. I gave my screen up later. So can you see it now? Can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
All right. So thanks. So I'm creating a list. I put Imisi Ola, or it could be Imisi Oluwa, most likely. Someone is messing around with my screen. So I'll put Ihsan. I'll put peace. I'll put Ilham. I put Waris. Yes. I put, who else is here? Ridwan. I put Ismail. I put Muhammad. If your name is not there, don't be angry with me. I put Miriam. Scanning through my screen. Just give me a moment. Ikeolua. Yes. I put Ikeolua there. Ah, there is Joseph. Is it Joseph or Matthew? I think it's more of Joseph. Yeah. So let's keep it at this. Abdullah, last one. Yeah. Abdullah.
Sir Samuel is there.
Samuel, yes. I think it's the name I was missing. So not Joseph now. So this is Samuel. All right. So let's say these are the names of attendees. And someone says, I need you to display their names, one name on a line. How would I have gone about this? I told us you write for item in attendees. This is always your opening statement. For every item in the list given to you, I want to do something. I can just say print item. If I do this and I run this code, it will print all your names on the screen for me in the sequence in which I have supplied them. So you can see all the names are here. But this is not as interactive as if I say item this is that. You know the way we do it.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll put this here and say format. I'll now say, how do I want to move this? I want to say item 1 is that. So it will be come in here and say counter item. Don't worry about my counter for now. It says it's not defined. I'll say my counter is equal to 1. And then when you are done, I need you to take this counter and add 1 to it. I need to pause a little bit here. This mathematics or this expression confuses a lot of people. Okay, it confuses a lot of people. When they get into this, just give me a moment, is equal to 0. Yeah. Yeah. When people get here without usage, I'm using it. This is it. Yeah. When people see this expression on line 9, they get confused. I got confused in the university when I came across this. And I was like, it is not possible for counter to be equal to counter plus 1 because these two sides of the equation mathematically should not be possible. But this expression is correct, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Don't read this symbol as the equivalent of equal to in your mathematics. No, that's not what it means. That thing that you knew in math as equal to in programming is written like this. Okay, so if I want to say 2 is equal to 2, I'll say 2 is equal to 2. That's the meaning of 2 is equal to 2. If I say x is equal to 3, what it means is not equal to. Rather, it means whatever is on the right, which is 3, assign it to what is on the left, meaning store what is on the right into the variable on the left. It is different from this one that is comparing the value of the left and the right side. So be careful when you see this symbol in line 7 being used in programming. So if I go back to where we moved off, line 9, what line 9 means is, Redwan, I'm coming over. What line 9 means is if counter had a value before, I need you to add 1 to that original value of counter and then store it as the new value of counter. So let's say counter was 0, and you add 1 to 0, it becomes 1. Then counter will now keep 1. It won't keep 0. It's like you are overwriting what was in counter. This is the way we do it. There is another technique for doing it. We just say plus is equal to 1. This is a shortened form of writing it in case you are doing your extra training and you come across this symbol. Line 10 is doing the same thing as line 9. This is just a funky way of writing it. It's cleaner. It looks more professional. But for beginners, I will not use that notation. I will keep it as this. So why did I even bring this up? It's because if I didn't, you won't be able to get a value for counter here. I wanted you to say item 1 is Imisiolua, item 2 is Ihsan, item 3 is peace, and so on and so forth. So I need something that will be increasing one step at a time until we get to the final name. So if we run this code now, you can see what it did. It gives item 1 to everybody. And that's not what we want to happen. We want to have item 1 is Imisi, item 2 is Ihsan, item 3 is peace, and so on and so forth. So what do we need to do to fix this? Counter remains the same. So I will need to knock this off and say I am writing another loop statement for counter in. How many names do we have there? Can someone count for me? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, 13 names. So I will say in range 1 through 14, step 1. We are familiar with this notation. Okay, so we do not need to tell ourselves anything. Yeah, so I can do this easily. So I'm building one for loop statement inside another one, and I guess this should work perfectly for me. Yeah. So you can see item 1 is Abdullah, item 2 is this, item this is that, and then the result is out. But I guess it's coming out in repeated manner. So this may not be the way you really want it to work. So we can play around with where we situate this line so that it doesn't duplicate or replicate as we have it on the screen. But the message here is clear for you. When you are writing a code that you need to run multiple times, you can bring in a syntax like this in its simplistic format, and it will tell you what is in there. Just 1 minute. Item, I can just even remove this and just say, just print item. All right. So this is the simplest form of it. It prints all the names out and then you're fine. You can enhance it and make it more visually appealing. Yeah, Ridwan, I'm back to you now. You don't understand the counter element. I will come back to it and I will, demystify it to you so you don't run into any element of confusion. Ridwan, are you ready with your screen? All right. Good. So if I look at this function that you have, define greet user, you print, I need the control of your screen. So where are you hiding now? Hold on. Ask. I don't have the power to take control, but let me keep reading through what you have here. Don't worry, I will look at it. Go back to that screen. Okay, fine. Keep it this way. So the first one is, hi, you are welcome to this Python code that uses functions. That's what you can do there. Don't worry, just leave it there. I'll check. Yeah, return to your code screen, Ridwan. Yeah, okay. So the second one, they've add numbers. I assume you have this number 1 plus number 2. This is also correct. So scroll down. I think the challenge is further down in the line. Number 3 is working well. Correct. Then let me check this. Number 3 says, hold on. Go to the space on top of number def display results. Yes, that place. Click on it. Okay. I think it's looking good. Right click, mouse over your display result. Just move your mouse over it. Yeah, move your mouse over it. It should be in lowercase. That's not a big issue. Greet user. Okay, so keep going down. It tells me the problem is from your line 4. Okay, I think the rest of the code looks okay. So let's go back to line 4. So line 4 says def greet user, and it's saying you can't. Okay, so look at your line 7. You put colon in front of print. The colon should not be in front of print. Yes, that one. Remove it. Yeah. Try to run this program again. Okay. So it says it cannot convert string to float number. So let's go to your dialog down in the code. Yes. So here you are not getting the input. Remember, after float, there should be input, then the first number. So we can all make this same mistake. We should learn from it. Put brackets before input. Yes. T. Then close it at the end. Then repeat the same thing for the second line. Then you need your input. And then a bracket between float and input. Yeah, put the bracket there. And this should be it. If you run the program now, it should work. If it tells us there is an error, we'll fix the error wherever it is. Oh, awesome. First number, put it 23, second number, whatever you want. Yeah. 23 added to 34 is none. So let's go back to your display results. So you can see where you said add numbers. Hold on there. When you say add numbers, you should say where you wrote pass, overwrite pass with return results. Return, you are returning a number. Yeah, return. And the number you want to return is the result, space bar, then put result there. Correct, just accept it. Press tab. Correct. So if you run this now, everything should work smoothly. Run the program again. Number 1, 12 plus 98 should be 100. Sorry, 110. Should be 110, yeah. So you can see 12 added to 98 gives you 110. Thank you. So this solves your problem. I hope we learned from that. All right. So let me take my screen back from you. Okay, where is my...
Jazakumullah khairan, sir.
Yeah, meanwhile, yeah. So I go back to my own screen 2. So we are back to my screen 2 now. I will show you something a little bit more exciting on loop statement. Let's say, of course, this is like a summary of what we did with loop in for statement. But for statement, just like I told you, it's not the only way we write programs. We can also write programs looping using while statement. So I'll say example 047. So this is while statement, lowercase. So this is the structure for while. It will be while condition is true. Okay, while a particular condition is true, it will be do something. Do something for us. This is the general syntax. While certain conditions are true, do some things for us. So we can come in here and say, let's say someone that was asking me for counter, please note this. Let's say I have a counter here. I'm just saying the way we press the counter, pen, 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 and it will be increasing 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. Let me say I set my counter to 0 at the beginning. It's not counting anything. This is my general syntax that I told you. Condition must be true. And I come in here and say, why counter is less than 5? Do something. What should it do? We can say print counter. When you write this, something strange is going to happen on the screen. Please pay attention to it. Example 47. When I run this, it will consistently, look at the lower right corner. It is consistently printing 0 to my screen because 0 is the value of counter. And what it is doing is checking. While counter is less than 5, print counter. So it checks. First time, is 0 less than 5? Yes, it prints 0. Then it goes back again. Is 0 less than 5? Yes, it prints 0. And that is why it keeps printing 0 endlessly. This, I need to end the program by shutting it down up there. We call this an example of infinite loop. Infinite loop statement. It will just keep going and going endlessly, and it will run down your computer resources to the point where your computer will slow down and won't be able to do anything. We do not want that to happen. What we had in mind was a scenario where you can say, counter is 0. Is 0 less than 5? Yes, print 0. Then increase counter by 1. Come back and check. Is 1 less than 5? Yes, then print 1. Increase counter by 1. Counter becomes 2. Then you do, is 2 less than 5? Yes. It will keep going round and round until it gets to a scenario where this relationship is not true. And that is when counter becomes 5. When counter is 4, it will check, is 4 less than 5? Yes, it will print 4. Then counter gets increased by 1, and then it becomes 5. Then it comes in here, and it's like, is 5 less than 5? No, it will not print 5 as part of the output. And that's a way in which you can play around with counter. So let's see what will happen if I don't do this infinite loop. I'll remove this infinite loop element. I'll now come in here and say, our original counter, please help us add the old counter to it, but after you add 1 to the old counter. This is what they call increment variable. Okay, I am incrementing the value of counter. So the first time, counter here will be 0. Okay, counter here will be 0. And then when it produces 0, it prints 0 on the screen for us. And we're saying add 1 to 0. It becomes 1. So this statement goes back to line 4 to check. Is 1 less than 5? Yes, it will print 1. Then it comes here. Counter is now containing 1. We're adding another 1 to it. It becomes 2. So 2 is stored in counter. It goes to line 4 to check. Is 2 less than 5? Yes, it will print 2 for us. It brings 2 down to this place. 2 is added to 1. It becomes 3. 3 is stored on the left-hand side. The machine goes back to line 4. Is 3 less than 5? Yes, it prints 3. And it will keep going until the loop becomes wrong. So let's check what this will look like when it runs. You can see it. It prints 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, because these are the numbers that are less than 5. But if I put less than or equal to 5, it will print everything up to 5, because I have now put equal to as part of the condition that I am evaluating here. So as long as this condition is true, counter will always be increased by 1. If you handle this part is very key. If you don't do it, then you go into endless loop. Increment variable to avoid endless loop. We need to be mindful of this, okay? So this is one implementation of while loop. And you may just check around and say, remember we wrote a program last week to display, I think it should be our exercise 44, if I still have it here. Yes, we wrote a program to say, give us some numbers, and then we will raise them to power 2 and display the result. But we use a for loop for that. If I want to implement the same program in a while loop environment, this is what I'll do. I'll come up here and say limit. Say I want an integer input. Give me a numeric limit. Okay. So you give the numeric limit to this program. And this one will now come and say, while the program is less than your limit, this is what you have here, we can come around and say our message would be okay. Our message, hold on a second. Our message would be number this. Number this is, okay. The square of the square, this is square now, SQUARE, is this. Now we will format this message, and we will format by saying, let's see, we want to run through a loop. Don't let me complicate things yet. Let me just print the number, okay? I'll print the number and then we will increment this way. So let's check this. Example 47, give me a numeric limit. I give 10. And then it goes around and then it prints 0 through 10 because I said less than or equal to. So it prints all the numbers out for me. This is one way to print numbers. If you want to use the second example that I had before, you could come in here, just one moment, the one that squares the results. Okay. You can come in and say, you are using the same number given to you, but instead of printing here, you just come in and say, print the message, and your message will be, one moment, the square of this is that. Then we'll format this and say counter, and then I'll put maths.ho, and the parameter will be counter 2, because this is where the result is. And the alternative is for you to just cut this part. It's possible. Put the result here, and then declare your result up here. So result will be, I will need to import math in order to be able to do that. So what this part of the code is going to be doing is that it will look through the numbers within your limit and square them for you. I can take this to the top of the code so that you don't get, oh, it's already there. Awesome. So if I run this, watch this, give me a numeric limit. I put 5. The first part displays just the numbers, this one. This is just to print the numbers. The second part is saying the square of 0 is 0. The square of 1 is 1. The square of 2 is 4. The square of 3 is 9. The square of 4 is 16. And it can go on and on and on like that. We could have run this program and said, give us up to 30 numbers. And it will give us the same logic that we implemented with the for loop statement. This is another implementation of while loop. The last implementation of while loop I'll do tonight is the one I think you will all enjoy the most, and you will confirm to me once I'm done with it. It is a method that we use to validate input. That'll be my example 48, when users send us input. I'll create a problem first and I'll solve it. And I guess that should reinforce the message. Example 48. All right. So remember, we used to write something like this. num1 is equal to input, and then we'll ask for number 1. And people will give us. And then we will come in here and say, we want this to be float. Okay. We want this to be float. And then we will go again and say num2 should be similar. We'll do num2, and we'll go in here and change this to num2. And we would write num3 is equal to num1 plus num2. Everything is still okay. And we will have written a message to say num1 added to num2 is num3. And we would format our message to read num1, num2, num3 in that sequence. And we will have displayed the message on screen this way. Okay. This program is nice. It works within a given context. So let's do 5 plus 7. It says the result is 12. You are happy with this. I can break this program Breaking means I don't want it to work the way you intended, and I'll show you the way that's done. If I rerun this program again, and I put 1 and capital letter O, not 0, capital letter O, you can see that it looks very much like 0. My program starts complaining after I pressed enter. It says, I could not convert string to float. And you look at this, it looks very much like 10, but it's not 10. We make this mistake regularly. And when you look at your keypad on your computers, you see that letter O and figure 0 are neighbors, kind of. One is almost directly on top of the other. So this is a genuine mistake people can make when they are writing programs. And if you feed the program with a wrong input, this is the kind of situation that you will run into. The program will say, I cannot convert string to float because 0 is a letter, is a string, and you cannot use letter O. Sorry, letter O is a string. You can't use it in a mathematical operation. And that's why you have this value error being raised by Python. So the question then is, how do you solve this kind of a challenge? Yes, I'm going to give you an assignment like this. So how do you solve this kind of a challenge if it comes up in your code? It's very simple, and that's what I want to demonstrate now. You will come in here and say, while true. You say, while the scenario is true, I need you as computer to try certain things, okay? And we will write our block of statements in that slot. But if there is a problem, then tell us. And the problem could be like the value error we saw just now. So this block is very key. I'll come up here, take my num1 and plug it into that part. And here I'll say, hold on a second, print a message. Please enter a valid number. This is the message that I want my user to see if they type in wrong input. Okay, that's what I want them to see. But every other thing will work normally if they put the right elements there. This code is unreachable. No, we'll reach it. Don't worry. It's not part of the while statement. So let's see how this one runs for now. So when you look at this, if I say run this code, like code example 48, you can see it's asking me, what's my number 1? If I type 1 and letter O, as I did before, capital O, and I press enter, it goes back. Instead of returning that error with red message, it goes back to the question, enter number 1 again. It displays this error message. Please enter a valid number. Instead of the program crashing, instead of your code crashing, it doesn't crash. It undo the error and it displays the right message to the user. This is please enter a valid number, and it's prompting the user again for number 1, which is here. And the moment I type the correct input, this is 10. You can see that it doesn't know what to do. Again, it still sends me back to the loop. So I need to fix one more thing in here. So I can come in here and say, how do I want this to work? I want this guy to work like the way it is working. But once they send in the correct input, it should just break. Okay, it should break out of this loop. So when I put 10, the correct 10, it goes out of that while statement, and it's prompting me for my number 2, which is now line 11, and I can put 5 there, and we'll still see our result. I didn't want to break number 2. I could have done that by saying, go back, give me number 10, and when I get here, I'll put 20. Instead of putting 20, I put valid 2, but capital O again. This one will yell at me saying, line 11 has a problem. I have checked everything. I'm okay up to line 11, but line 11, I can see an attempt to put in text where float number is required, because we didn't undo the error, and that's why this is coming back to haunt us. So how do we fix this? More like what you did for the first one. I'll copy this block. I will overwrite this block. I will be quick to change this to num2. I'll change this to num2. I put a space just for people to know that there is a gap there. And then this will ask us for num2 also. And if you run this code now, you can see num1, 10, num2, 20. It gives me the result. 10 added to 20 is 30. But even if I didn't use 10 with letter O, and I tried to use something else, look at this. If I typed Ade, it tells me Ade is incorrect. Enter a valid number. It prompts me to put number 1 back. It won't go past that spot until you put in the correct entry into it. This will help you minimize errors that can come into your code. If you had written it the previous way we were writing programs up to now, but once you undo the errors appropriately, you can see for my number 1, I had a while statement. For my number 2, I had another while statement, which controls the type of data that can go in. That's just one thing it's controlling, just the type of data. If we had gone to say, this is score, not just a number, for instance, okay? And I put this as score 2. I want to break this logic anymore again. If I run this code and I say score 1, and I put 120, it will go through. Score 2, 453. It will go through, and it says 120 added to 453 is 573. That's correct, because that's what you have told it to do. You have not. Okay, Altan, we can chat later. I will make an announcement towards the end, and then we'll cover you. Thanks. Now, you have not told the program not to accept any number outside 0 to 100. You just said anybody can put in any number, and that's why it's doing this. In fact, what you need to do is to say float, remove float, and then change it to integer, since you are now dealing with scores. So how do we ensure that that part doesn't happen? You will need to validate num1 and num2. And the easiest way to do that is to say validate range of score. I'm just putting a comment there. So I will have written something like this. If num1, okay, is greater than 100, I want to display a message. Print an error message. Error. Okay. Number between 0 to 100 is needed. Okay, you can put this in there. And then you say else. So it is in my else that I'll break this. Okay, so this is when it is beyond 100. That's what you have tested here. I can say number less than. Okay, I think this should be fine. If it is greater than 100, give them this message. Even if they go ahead and you put elif, and you put if num1 is negative, this is 0 less than 0, you can still display that same message to them. And you can tell them negative numbers are not allowed. Okay, error. Negative numbers are not allowed. There's a typo error there. Negative. Yes. So I built these two extra layers of validation into our num1, not yet done for num2. So let's see what the result will be like. So here, when I say I scored 100, that shouldn't be any problem. It accepts it. I scored 45 in the next one. The result is 145. But see what will happen to num1 if I say I scored 120. It says error, number between 0 and 100. I'll customize that. 0 to 100 are needed or is needed. And then it prompts me for score 1 again. If I don't give any number within that range, I'll be in trouble. If I say minus 23, it will tell me error, negative numbers are not allowed. So it's prompting me for score 1 again. Until I put a valid number, I won't be able to go. So let me put a valid number for that, and then it solves that problem for us. So the same thing you've done for num1 up here, you can repeat it you can change the text. You can repeat it for num2, and then you'll be fine. Okay, I'll paste it here and then change this to num2. I'll change the message here to score 2. I'll come in here and say this is num2, not num1, because you need to be careful with copy paste. So here, number between 0 and 100, a number, okay? A number between 0 and 100 is needed. Negative numbers are not allowed. So this is a better construct versus what I had there before. I copy paste this. So when I look at my code, I'm reviewing on the screen. I'm checking while all things being equal. That's what line 2 is doing. All things being equal, start checking. That's try. Check what number is being sent. If number is sent, anything that is not numeric, go down here and tell them to enter valid number. If they have entered a valid number and it is outside of the allowed range, send them these messages. Otherwise, break from this loop and continue to move. I did that for number 1. I did it for number 2. And we simply came into num3 to add the result in number 1 and number 2 together to get our number 3. And we displayed the result. This is an extremely powerful tool that you cannot do without when you are writing high-end code. And I expect you to watch the video over again, probably take note if you need to write some things down. I'll pause my screen and give you the opportunity of writing, especially for just one number. Once you take the structure for one number, you can replicate it for as many numbers as you want, and you can decide how those numbers are going to behave. The only thing I can use to break this code now is where it is asking for integer. If I send in decimal number, it will still tell you, please enter a valid number, and you will see it. Let's try it. If I get here and I say I scored 45.7, it says enter a valid number because it's expecting an integer, not a decimal. So we need to go in there and put it here. So valid integer number, just for clarification's sake, so that people will know that you're not looking for just any number, but an integer number. So you can play around with this. You can build more powerful programs with this. Just like when we get to our classwork, the class project, I will use this a lot. And I need you to be familiar with the constructs before we start that. And once we are done with the first class project, when you see similar constructs or syntaxes later, you will not be shocked. I yield the floor back to the chairman. This is my story for tonight. I give you my screen. Feel free to copy line 2 through 13, and then we see how we can deal with those who just joined us. Over to you, Mr. Chairman. Who is this messing up my screen? This is unfair. Yeah, Chairman, over to you.
Yeah, sorry, I heard you. I'm trying to just unmute.
Okay.
Okay, so who who did all that drawing on the screen?
And most
Is it
likely someone
corrected?
connected remotely and is trying to disrupt the session.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's been a nice class. Tomorrow will be the last day for the week. I think now everybody's enjoying the class, and it's encouraging. Some people have reached out to say they want to be part of it. Also, I think we've gone beyond anyone's coming can catch up, except the person has some residual knowledge of Python. Okay, so I think it's more participatory now. Some of the exercise involving us to also do some hands-on on the programming.
Yeah.
So I think HIB will do more of that tomorrow, being the last day for the week.
Yes.
And we will hold on to that till next week, Monday, by the grace of God. So I want to say thank you, everybody, and you have a restful night. And then we catch up tomorrow again.
All right.
That's all I
Yeah.
have to say for now.
All right. A quick wrap up from me. I'm leaving my screen on so that you can copy this code, because I know this part is going to keep Redwan, Emisi, and all of you busy tonight that, oh, I can validate what people type in so that my code will not break when wrong input is fed into the program. I'll leave the screen for like another 2-3 minutes before I take it off. Okay, someone is writing good. Okay, good night. Thank you very much, Mila. Okay, so for those who are just joining, like Alton, you can leave your message, your phone number. Yeah, good night, sir. Thanks. You can put your message on the on the chat box, as in your phone number, your WhatsApp phone number. We will add you to the group where we share the links to the videos of past lectures. And you will be able to, yeah, your WhatsApp number. Yeah, put it there.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Apart from WhatsApp, where else can we watch the videos?
Okay. Now, if you look at the WhatsApp group, there is a link there to all the recorded videos of all our previous lectures. Okay. So once this class is over, I normally will just transfer the video recording to a Google Drive, and you have all our past lectures there. So if you want to do revision, you can go in there and watch our class exercises. And I also do one thing in the WhatsApp group. I drop a video link to YouTube that will, tell you more about the concept that we just discussed. So it reinforces your understanding of the topic, so that when you come back to practice, you will be able to practice much better And more importantly, tomorrow when we start discussing our project, you won't be at a loss as to what we're discussing.
Yeah,
Thank you,
absolutely.
sir.
You're
Then
welcome.
let me also ask, there is a Miller in this class now.
Yeah.
Are you a first timer?
Obviously, the person is the first timer.
Okay, I would like to hear from Miller. What is his impression?
Sir, I'm not a first timer.
Oh,
Are
really?
you kidding?
Yes, sir.
So what was your previous name?
Amira or Adwaid.
Oh, look at you.
Okay. That's all right. Okay, so Okubena Altan. Altan, you used to do a lot of video watching, especially over the weekend, so that by next Monday you'll be somewhere close to the class currently. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
All right.
All right. So guys,
just to prepare
I
your
thought
mind
we-
against tomorrow, we will write
yes.
the code tomorrow. We will start writing. We won't complete it. We'll start writing something tomorrow that you can use to. We agreed on 2 projects. So which of the 2 do you want to do? Let me lay out the 2 before you. So you decide on your own, or we ask our daddy to decide for us. You can write a program to produce report card for students in a school, or you write a program that can be used in a supermarket to produce receipts or invoice for whatever they are bought. You know, people can buy items, quantity, price, and blah, blah, blah. It will list all the items, put the units that they bought, and then it will put the amounts, and then it will give the total, and then it will just print it out for you. Which of the 2 do you think we should work on? We'll work on one, and we'll give you the other one as a group project that you will work on your own, maybe before school resumes. I think schools are resuming on the 16th of September, so you have enough time, even though you'll be distracted once we start writing games on Monday. So which of the 2 do you prefer?
Now, which one is easier?
They both use the same logic. They both use the same or similar logic. For me, I don't know which one is easier because I can write both easily.
So I
Depending.
think school.
Okay, you want school. Okay, thanks. I think
the receipt.
okay, I think there is an idea that we should
Okay,
work on
maybe.
the school. All right, supported by someone. All right, so
there's a message for on there's a box
Redwan
for
says
invoice.
Redwan says invoice.
Okay. That's the box for invoice. Okay.
Okay, this is what I think. I think, in all honesty, we should follow the line of Redwan. We will work with what you are not too familiar with, and then we will ask you to build a report card since you all know that system very much. We can discuss the concept with you, the approach, and you will just do the coding. Okay? So by God's grace, tomorrow we will start building our project, our first real world project on how we can handle buying and selling of items. Yes, we'll buy and sell items tomorrow using Python program and print receipts for our buyers. Thanks a lot. That's my story for tonight.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Yeah.